Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Joined alongside Tim in Green Bay. We had Emilio. He may have gotten a knock at the door.
I'm sorry. I started cracking up as we started, and it just got out.
If you guys, one of these days, we're going to make it exclusive to the Patreon group. We're going to let y'all hear the pregame jam sessions that we have in here, man.
Are you sure about that?
No, I am not. About that. Actually, we would lose so much credibility. Gents, how we doing tonight, man? How we doing? Everybody staying warm, staying healthy. We're good, right? You up on your vax? Everybody up on their vax? We're good there, right?
Yep.
Yeah, doing good. It's
only hit my head on one
warmer up here, man. It's like 16 degrees right now. Got a little bit of snow, feeling good, you know.
Tim out there in a t-shirt,
nice,
checking his mail. What I'm talking about.
Only hit one nail in the head when I was crawling in the attic, so we're good, you know.
That ain't bad at all, man. Jacob said he's stuck at work, so he's on the pole over there.
Yeah.
Probably not going to make it tonight.
Heard that before.
That's terrible.
Emilio, just so you guys know, in the text thread, Emilio said, "Yeah, I knew you were mid. I'm just happy you accepted your level." That's his response. All right, anyway, let's get into it, boys. We made a new addition to the draft board, and we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, I think last couple of days. And Emilio, why don't you explain to everybody what we added here with Dane Brugler and what we decided to kind of adjust here, man, if you don't care.
Right. So if you're seeing where we have the Senior Bowl, that empty space there in the center column, to the right we got DJ's big board, which we've had, 33rd big boards, which we've had. Clayton added all of Dane's big board today in that third column on the right there. So our final average, which is the second to last column on the right, that's what we've had before with all the previous numbers, DJ and 33rd team. And now the average to the right of that is our new final with Dane, and that's all three of them averaged in. So we wanted to leave out both columns for a couple of days just to see where we might be at. Some of these players jumping, moving spots. I think we're going to be surprised on a couple of them. We already took a peek at one, but we'll kind of go into that a little bit. And I think that it'll be cool kind of just see who's either going to level out, climb up, or really, what is going to drop their standing.
Absolutely. And you guys know I'm of the opinion I want the information to be on the board that came in the soonest, okay? I don't want to go back and change it. Okay, now they feel like this about that prospect. I don't want to play that game because people are swayed by opinion and momentum of prospects rising on the board. Again, we can click on anybody's draft board and get their updated number. I want to know how they felt the earliest as opposed to waiting until the media gets a little more involved. This university's creating buzz around that player. There's a lot of politicking that goes on behind the scenes. So the reason I mentioned that is sooner or later, eventually Daniel Jeremiah will release his entire board, like his top 150. When we go to add those numbers, if these numbers change on the players that are already on our board, we are not going to change them. We're just going to add in the new numbers, the new grades of the players that we need, and we're going to move it along. Same thing with Dane Brugler. Same thing with the 33rd team and Kyle Krabs. So that's how we're going to approach that. Now, what I love about this, too, if you really know where to look here, and Emilio, this is what's beautiful about it. Tim, check this out. So Dane Brugler's column's right here, right? Okay. If you'll notice, we've got it sorted by our overall grade right now. Okay. So this is everybody's in the order in which we have value placed on each prospect. But if you go to Dane's number here, his column, and look at the numbers, the double digits that are in our, sixth spot there, 15.
Right. And right now it's still average, or it's still sorted by our previous final average. So it's not sorted by Dane's final average yet. We're still on yesterday's or this morning's final average right now.
Okay, gotcha. So the formula hasn't been added in yet, right?
No, it's in there. You can sort by Dane's on the right column. I'm just saying right now we're still on how it was last night. You know what I mean? That's how the average is set. You go ahead and sort that now.
That's what I wanted to see right there. So what I wanted to look at is, like, who does Dane have in the double digits that's still pretty high on our board, right?
I got you.
And that'll kind of differ. Like, and vice versa, too. Like, if you go down to the 18 spot, you got Shamar Stewart, edge defender from Texas A&M, right? Dane Brugler has him at number 9, and we have him in the 18 spot. You see what I'm saying? I think that's really interesting to see who kind of pops. And when you get into some of the upper numbers, like here, Jaire Barron, right? Jaire Barron, Dane Brugler has in the 40 spot, and we have him at 22. So it really does pop and shows you the contrast, the difference between everybody's board. And you can kind of see, too, side by side here with Daniel Jeremiah and the 33rd team. Like, for instance, Siobhan Ravel here, right? Daniel Jeremiah is the only one that doesn't have him in the top 50 of our three kind of scouts, right? Our three go-to sources.
And go ahead and put him in there at 52 real quick. Let's see. Yeah, you go ahead and put 52. And no, he hasn't dropped it. I'm just saying, just to give you an idea. Just to like give you a theoretical there of what Siobhan could do, just because he's not going to have that. So you check his numbers. He went from 17 on our old final average to 29, and then dropped with Dane's up to 29. So that's it's gonna show up, definitely.
Absolutely, definitely. So just kind of keeping you guys in the loop, and we're going to go ahead and get a version of this if we can, Emilio, when we get a chance. Let's get a version of this to give to the Patreon group. That way they can stay up to date as well. So appreciate everybody over there. Anything else, Tim? You got anything to add to this as far as the board goes? Any questions, comments, concerns? Hey, you knucklehead, you're screwing this up, that type of stuff.
No, not at all. If anything, I think it's awesome how it's really coming together. Like, it's evolved even in just the last month, Like, Emilio, you've been putting in a lot of work. Clay, you too, I'm chipping in where I can, but like, this is crazy because we're able to cross-reference multiple data points, and it's constantly being updated. And you're going to see a trend where we may not hit on some of our picks, but I guarantee you we're going to be within the margin of error, as they would say. We're really narrowing things down, and it gives you the ability to really look at things a little more objectively and really figure out, when you look at the positions of need that we've identified versus best available, and then weighing that against the mocks and then our trusted advisors and scouts. I mean, to be this far away, from the draft, it's awesome to have this much clarity, I think, going into it. I don't think any of us are going to be like wildly shocked on draft day. We may be surprised here and there, but I think based on what we've been putting together, like we kind of have a good barometer of, how things are going to fall for us. So it's just awesome.
I agree. Along with the mocks that we're doing too, right? I mean, like it's all practice. It's all okay. We're doing a mock draft, and it's fun to kind of put yourself in the GM shoes. But what you're doing is you're collecting information. And if we have time tonight, we're going to do a trade up draft tonight. Okay, where we can trade up and try to get one of those top tier guys, kind of sell the farm to get an elite prospect. So
I love it. And then just as we're pulling it up in the next couple of days or whatever, look at that final average column where Clayton's got it lit up. Anybody that's got a higher number there, than Dane has him, obviously was helped out. If he's got a lower number, then Dane's is going to, affect him. And I just think it's going to be cool just to see where they're all going to kind of finally land.
Yep. No doubt, man. All right. So there's just, like I said, a little updated look at the draft board, and we'll keep you guys and gals in the loop. And like I said, if you're in the Patreon group, we'll make sure we get you a version of that, a copy of that you guys can kind of check out as well. Let's go to Twitter real quick, man. I put this tweet out earlier today, and boy, oh boy, did it get some traction, man. It was fun, some of the conversation. Every time I do this, I know Tim's thinking, oh, God, Clayton, don't do it. Don't do it. So here we go. Which edge defender would you rather have, and why? Was the question. Player number 1, 605 snaps, 13.4 quarterback pressure percentage, run stop rate of 18%, cap hit $11 million. Or would you rather have player 2, 725 snaps, quarterback pressure 12.3%, run stop rate 14%, cap hit $30 million. All right. And I had to add this in because I knew people go, what's the sacks? What's the sacks? Both guys had 7.5 sacks. Now I will say this. One of the player 1 had the same number of sacks on 120 less snaps. Which player would you guys choose there, fellas? If I had to ask you.
Oh, I think you know who I would choose. Number 1. If you ain't first, you're last. Ricky Bobby.
Yeah. Well, heck, you can be second. You can be third.
Hell, you can even be fourth. I love that movie. I was probably high when I told you.
That's a great movie.
It is. Emilio, what do you think here, man? This is it's pretty easy, right?
That's a yellow tag item right there. Player 1 has just got the yellow sticker on it. Take me. I mean, that's it. I'll run that up to self-checkout, and I'm out the door.
Yeah. Here are the 2 players, gang. Player number 1 is Rashan Gary. Player number 2, Maxx Crosby. Wild to think about. Wow. And I did not expect this. When I went through the numbers, I'm thinking, I think it's going to be closer than people think, but Max will probably have the edge. Now again, I went, holy cow, that is wild. That's a wild statistic. Now, was it Max's best year? Absolutely not. Was it Gary's best year? Absolutely not. But if you're going off of recent body of work, right?
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. Jason Ma with a huge super chat. Thank you so much, Jason. He said, Daddy, soda's on me, boys. You're the man. We really appreciate you, buddy.
I got one.
So
Thanks, Jason. That's awesome.
Absolutely appreciate it, man.
So again, I do that to kind of remove the name, remove the shock factor. Which player would you like to have? And of course, people hop in the comments and they ask questions, and it gets pretty intense in there from time to time. This one here, I end up having to block him. He was just obnoxious. But here's what he said. Number 1 is Gary. Number 2 is Maxx Crosby. But I think it would be nice to include some additional information. Maxx Crosby played 12 games against Gary's 17. Right? He suffered more percentage of double teams than Gary, and yet was more effective in doing so than Rashan. That said, Max is much better. Now, notice he didn't mention the chips. He just mentions the true double teams, right? Conveniently leave that off. And also, note how he said 12 games to Gary's 17. What would that make you think? Well,
Yeah,
Gary,
can you go back to your original post, because it triggered something in my mind. So Rashan played 120 less snaps.
Bingo.
And is putting up a higher QB pressure rate and a better run stop rate. So, I mean, that's all you need to know, right? I mean,
and this is what cracks me up, Tim. He put that out there thinking nobody was going to check that. Oh, well, it's only because Gary played more games. And it's like, bub, you didn't take time to even look at the snaps, did you? Gary was healthy all 17 games. It's just that heavy rotation that Green Bay used, right?
But even still, I mean, even the fact Max wasn't healthy for those games, even, whatever it is, if it's an injury concern or not, I have no idea. But 1, he didn't get that. And 2, he said, he plays all the time. He's on the field, 98% of the time or something crazy like that. And even with our hockey lines, Gary was 100 snaps behind him. Either way, even if he was injured or not, I mean, he's tracking them. You know what I mean? There's not like that big of a difference between them.
And that's the thing. Like, this doesn't mean you don't want Maxx Crosby.
Right.
It doesn't mean that at all. All it's simply saying is we raked Rashan Gary over the damn coals all year long, and he outperformed Maxx Crosby, which is wild. And again, you got to be careful with PFF numbers too, because again, they don't back it up with here's the play, here's the tape, here's the timestamp, here's the down and distance, time left on the clock to show you where the pressures came from. That's why I lean on NFL Pro over top of PFF, because you can actually go straight to the tape and watch the pressures. You can watch every aspect of what they're mentioning there. So just something to keep in mind there. But wanted to point that out. I thought that was an interesting conversation. Again, it does not mean we don't want Maxx Crosby. I think for the right price, I'm all about it. Now, here's the problem. Maxx Crosby cap hit this year, $27 million, I believe. Now, what will carry over, I want to say it's around $22 to $23 million unless they restructure the contract. But he's already talking. Well, it depends on the contract. He wants a new contract. He wants more guaranteed money, I guarantee it. So with that being said, are you willing to give up draft capital and give him an extension that's going to take him beyond the age of 30? And, oh, by the way, he's coming off an injury. To me, there's a lot of ifs there. It's not just a slam dunk. For the right price and less draft capital, absolutely, I'd love to have Maxx Crosby. And maybe it'll happen. Maybe it'll work, right? Maybe he'll take a team-friendly deal to come to Green Bay, right?
Maybe.
Look at Tim. Tim's like, he ain't taking
maybe.
Come on, bro. You going to leave Vegas for that? But I hated the fact that it, like, how dishonest old dude was about, like, trying to make it sound like, well, Gary played more game. You know what I mean? It's
like, no.
And that's what you run into all year long with this type of stuff. People get so dug in on their opinion, they're not willing to accept, hey, well, maybe I was just off on that a little bit, right? And again, no one here is saying Gary was absolutely awesome, right? I think Gary was a good player this year. That's what I think. And it's obvious that they were keying in on the run a lot. Badger Trio with the super chat. Appreciate you, buddy. He says, are you guys willing to give up Alexander in a trade? You talking about Jaire Alexander, I'm sure. Yeah. Huh? I am, yeah. It depends on the offer and depends on if Jaire wants to be a Packer. Here's the problem with it. It's like, if he's going to be healthy, I want Jaire back. But I think we're kidding ourselves to think he's going to be healthy. You know what I mean? Or at least guarantee he's going to be healthy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm at the point where it comes down, Badger Trio, for me to answer that question. What are we talking about in the trade? You know, third round pick, that would be really tempting for me, really tempting. But what do you guys think about that question? Are you willing to give up Ja in a trade?
I think if the scenario is correct and it benefits us, maybe. But that being said, I don't know how much, and I'm a Jaire fan. That's my dude. But I just don't know how enticing he is in the trade market. I don't know how much, value he's going to bring us in trade. I think you're right. It'd be hard to not seriously think about a third round pick for him. So I'm with you, though. I'm in the camp of if he's healthy coming into this year, I'd like to see him, play another year or two with us on a restructured deal and see where we can go. But, to answer Badger Trio's question, I would be willing to, see what's going on here. I'd be willing to potentially give up Ja in a trade, but I just don't know what the market's going to be like for him right now as far as the value.
Right. Yeah, I think I'm with both y'all. To Badger Trio, he was saying toss it into a Maxx Crosby trade or an Adams trade. If it works out for Max, and we don't have to give up too much and you trade player for player and kind of work out the numbers and stuff, yeah, sure, I would be for it. But then my next thing is, all right, who are we going to get to replace him and play on the outside? Is it going to be C-Val and Key? All right, but then we're still going to need to, bolster behind that. So it's always got to be the price is right. And I like a screaming deal, so it's really got to benefit me for me to give up a player that has fought for Green Bay, played for Green Bay. I know he's been hurt, but it's not like he wouldn't want to bring the Lombardi back home.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely us. Right. And again, thank you for the super chat there, Badger Trio. Appreciate you. Ron Sanville says 6 for Ja if you're lucky. I say keep him if possible. Again, if it's, hey, you run it back with Ja on a restructured deal, and again, people, when they hear that, they think that means pay cut. They don't see it as a pay cut when you're giving them more guaranteed money but less overall contract, right? So that's common practice. And the number that I put on Ja in that regard, probably if they do a restructure, you're going to see them free up somewhere between $5 to $8 million against the cap this year because you're going to pay cash over cap. So you're going to lower the overall cap number, give a little bit more guaranteed money to do so. So it's on the books, it would look like a pay cut, but from a player standpoint, they're getting more guaranteed money.
I know we've looked at it, but if we didn't touch it at all and we just said, Josh, show up to training camp, are we in better shape next year money-wise than we would be if we restructured them this year?
No, and I'll tell you why. Because you're still lowering the cap number if you go cash over cap.
Gotcha. Okay.
Let me see if I can pull it up and explain.
That was my only other question, because at this point, I'm almost to the point of just backing hands off and just say, Josh, show up to training camp and let's go to work. And let's not even worry about the restructure. If we're going to save, more money in the long run by not messing with it now, I would just say move forward with it. But yeah, if that's the case, then definitely I would be, open to the restructure. Let's figure out some numbers. And that's another time to bring them in, have a meeting, say, hey, sit down with Matt Goody, Russ, whoever needs to be there about the money, but also, where we want you to be. Maybe we want you to be that captain leader, that C. We want you to be that driving force, but if you can't have the C on your chest, I still want you to show up and play that, kind of style ball.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt, man. So Jaire Alexander's cap hit this year is $25.4 million. His dead cap attached is $19 million this year. So if you cut him outright, you're going to free up about $5 million, $5 to $6 million.
Gotcha.
All right? So if you click on his contract structure, and I'll have to zoom out a little bit and I'll try to keep you guys in the loop. Next year, his cap hit raises basically $2.4 million more dollars, so 27.8, but the dead cap attached is 10.7. All we're talking about doing here, Emilio, is, and here's the thing, you can free up way more money than that if you want to, because there's already the skeleton of a voidable year there on the backside. Right. But you're talking about taking that $16.1 million and converting some of that to signing bonus. So when you do that, let's say you tell Ja, hey, look, how about we shave $8 million off that base salary and we write you a $5 million check, right? If we do that, you're freeing up $3 million in cap. So his cap number goes down $3 million and he gets more guaranteed money, but less overall salary.
Gotcha. He'd be signing, if you gave him that 5, he'd be signing an 11 check. He'd be getting $11 million right in his bank, right?
Right. But in the past, when we would do this, it was because we were trying to free up cap space right now. And that's when you could go, if you want to be really aggressive with Jaire's restructure, you could say, all right, here's what we're going to do, Ja. We're going to cut that base salary down to $6 million. So we're going to shave $10 million off of that. All right. Mm-hmm. Okay. We're going to shave $10 million off. We're going to convert, let's say, 6 of it to signing bonus. All right. So with that 6 of a signing bonus, and then take the $6 million and spread it out over 26 and 27. So we'll put $3 million against the cap in 26,
gotcha.
$3 million against the cap in 27, and you're freeing up that money now. But here's the trick: whenever you decide to move on, if you decide to move on from him next year, that money that you've attached to this already voidable year here, which the cap hits 2.3, and in that case it would be 5.3 at that point. That 5.3 would accelerate to the current year cap.
He has to get paid.
You have to clean that off the books in year one that they are no longer on the roster. Is essentially what it means. So
gotcha.
That's what we're talking about with cash over cap, though. Essentially, and again, you can do a little bit more to that. I like to keep it simple and just focus on base salary and roster bonus. Roster bonuses, they're due that if they make the roster, so it's not technically guaranteed money. When teams do that, it looks like it's guaranteed for them. That's why when you get into this conversation about practical guarantee.
And you know what, I was looking on the right there, you going through some of his transaction, got fined in October for an excessive face mask against Arizona, $11,000, suspended for the game, conduct detrimental to the team, $60,000. February 25th of 23, converted $370,000 to 2023 salary plus 11.45 roster bonus into signing. So they're not afraid to do that, right? February 25th is coming around the corner. That's something that I think we got to kind of keep our eyes on, moving forward here. I could see it happening, now that looking at it like this, if we're still going to, it's still going to benefit us to restructure it. I could see the restructure happen. Ja, let's get you in here. And let's, maybe give him a little bit more incentive for the off season. We want you to lead that secondary crew. We've missed you out there, all that stuff. You and X out there, we want you to tear it up and, give them an extra bonus for showing up and call it a day.
So, yeah, I'm kind of 50-50 right here on this. Now, if you're telling me, again, you can get me a third-round pick and you clean $6 million off the books and we don't have to worry about is he going to stay healthy next year, I don't think that's a bad idea. I really don't. But if it's a 6-round pick like Ron was saying, I'm with Ron. Why don't we just try to work this out, give him a little bit of guarantee, and move forward in that regard. So there you go. There's your Ja talk of the day. Didn't have that on the books, but I'm glad we hit on it anyway. So
things could be a lot worse. I could be a Bears fan.
So true.
Let's go back to Twitter real quick. Something else that came down the pike. I thought this was interesting since we're entering combine season, right? Mike Garafolo had tweeted out, for the second straight year, the agents at Athletes First, which is obviously a sports agency, notified all 32 NFL teams today their draft-eligible clients will respectfully pass on any cognitive or psychological assessments, sources say. The agency led the charge on players refraining from such tests in 2024. You guys remember what happened, right, with C.J. Stroud. That's right. What sparked this. Was C.J. Stroud – I'm pretty sure that's when it kind of hit the boiling point. I can't remember the name of the test. It was one of the cognitive tests. It wasn't the what was the name of the one that's real popular? What am I thinking of here?
The Wonderlic.
Wonderlic.
It's not the Wonderlic, but the other one. I can never think of it. Anyway, yeah, and they were talking about, they actually had a guy come in and try to do damage control on the Pat McAfee show that works for that company that did that test. And he's like, yeah, listen, there's a lot of things that go into it. S2, there you go. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Who was that? Blake B. Thank you so much, buddy. The ASFAB. That's what I almost said over this. I swear I almost said the ASFAB. Some of you guys know what that means. It's not nothing like overly confrontational or anything. Or yeah, what? You know what the ASVAB is, Emilio?
Negative.
All right, so it's kind of a in my day, maybe they use it for multiple things. Now it was for if you were going to join the military. It was like military testing. So
gotcha.
Yeah, and it's just kind of a general. How stupid is this guy and can he hold a rifle? You know what I mean? So that's really what it comes down. We used to joke and call it the ass flab test, but that's neither here nor there. So anyway, I think this is a good move by agents because that was ugly with C.J. Stroud. And that guy going on the McAfee show right after that and kind of, man, this was – you could tell it was just damage control central. That league was mad at him that the score potentially leaked out. And it's hilarious that C.J. Stroud, that was could potentially hurt his draft stock, and then lo and behold,
Right.
he ends up being the best rookie that year, right? So, what do you guys think about this?
Yeah, I think it's got to be, it's got to be a unity thing on it, right? You can't just say it. I mean, if you're going to cover all your athletes and all that, you got to say it to every team. I'm not doing it no matter what. Put it out there early, get ahead of it, because by the time we go to Indianapolis, I don't want to be worrying about, them trying to drag them in there. You got to do your concussion testing, all that stuff, but we're not doing anything beyond it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I mean, they're athletes, right? I mean, cognitive, if you can read a playbook and throw a football or run with a football, I mean,
Right.
what else do you have to prove? And then, like psychologically, hey, I'm not going to get into all of that. I'm not a psychologist, but I think, that's going to come with the territory as you're going through your annual physicals once you're a pro anyway, right? And if there's anything to cause concern, I think that would show up. So I respect the fact that they're passing on this and, would rather not take part in it.
Yeah, 2-0 for this says the Wonder Liquor. That's I think that's Jacob's second stage name over at the office.
I think that's one of his favorite moves, actually.
Tim wins tonight. Put it on the ticker. He wins the most toxic member award. United Bates says, I took my ass fab with a crayon. Obviously, that's the Marines speaking there, so I love it.
Wash your hands, wash your butt, man. That's it. That's all.
Oh, goodness. All right, let's keep this train moving here, man. We're off the rails bad. I thought this was really cool. I got to pause this video. I'll try to pause it just right because I don't want us to get in trouble. But obviously, we just sent a picture that was donated by Trevor, one of our loyal listeners, viewers that donated to the show, of this actual play. I apologize for the dog barking. He is obviously upset. That's Biggie down there, Biggie Smalls, as we call him, my brother's dog. He thinks he's tough until Etta shows him teeth, and then he goes and sits on the couch.
Man.
So this was awesome, man. Look at the Green Bay Packers social media team showing up. I hashtag just a tip for a reason here, and I got to be careful. Again, we're going to pause that so we don't get in trouble. But look at our boy here grinning like a possum in a dumpster, and it says just the. How about that, boys? Don't say it, KB. Just the. I'm so proud of the Packers social media team, man. You know
They
what I'm saying?
stepped it up tenfold from the year prior. I mean, absolutely. That's great. And that's what keeps you engaged in the offseason. Football's over, Super Bowl's over. We got the combine coming up, but let's go back to when we had fun in the season, right? Those moments we were screaming about having a great time on the post game, all that stuff.
Yeah. You can tell that's what they're doing, with the social media team, right? They're going through all the moments and memories of the year. And we get gems like this, at 2:40 in the afternoon on a Wednesday. You got to love it.
Doesn't get any better than that, man. I'll tell you this too. One thing we're going to do this off season, once everything kind of dries up and it's like the draft and free agency's over, we're going to have a specific schedule set for the show where we can go back and relive last year and do chalk talk episodes of each week and relive each week. And just a quick reminder, a refresher. Me and Jacob done this 2 years ago when I first started the pod. And it was a lot of fun. We didn't do chalk talk, but we just went back and recap what actually happened week 1, what happened week 2, what happened. So we're watching football in the off season, even though there's not, any football going on other than the UFL, obviously. So, which I'm kind of excited about. I don't know about you guys. I like the UFL. So I think Alex Magoo's probably going to go back again too. That's going to be fun to watch. So it's your former UFL.
You're a receiver or a quarterback?
Quarterback again, baby. He won MVP, Tim. Are you kidding me? You know the level of talent over there?
Oh, no, I know. I was just joking because we had
just joking with you.
That was
like, is the talent actually that good? I don't know, right? It's football in the spring when you're grilling. It doesn't get any better than that. So,
yep.
All right, moving along here. Next thing. This was interesting, man. I've seen a conversation take place between Ryan Wood, who's a great follow on Twitter, by the way, on X, at by Ryan Wood. And he and this guy, Kyle Blosser, went back and forth on Josh Myers. And he kind of got a little snippy with Kyle. And I'm sure Kyle was, being a bit rude here, too. I'm not here to referee this argument. I just want to put my 2 cents in, even though nobody asked. That's what you do on X, right? I'm trying to get caught up with the times here. But Kyle Blosser said 49th ranked center in the league last year per PFF, only 32 starting centers in the league. Which part of this baffles you? And Ryan Wood said the film. And I've watched the film on Josh Myers, and I got to be honest with you, I don't think it's pretty. I don't. I don't watch the film and go, wow, that grade doesn't match up. There's been a couple times over the last year. I remember us after the game on Monday waiting for the PFF grades and going, I'm expecting Myers to have a better grade this time, right? There's been a couple games like that, but overall, pretty bad. But I kind of did a little bit of research here on my own. I said the film backs up these grades. That and the fact that Josh Myers allowed the third most pressures of all centers in the league at 31 pressures and 21 hurries. His whole name to fame or whatever is pass blocking. His pass blocking grade's always strongest, right? But man, when I seen those numbers, I thought, wow, that's pretty bad. 32 pressures, right? I'm sorry, not 32 pressures. He was what was it again? The 31 pressures. And I want to say it put him like in the 40s or something amongst centers at that number. So, and the 21 hurries obviously as well. So his pass blocking grade amongst centers put him 37th in the league, and his overall grade was 49th. His run blocking grade was 54th. I definitely agree with that the run blocking looked abysmal. And one of the things that Ryan Wood pointed out was like, I thought he looked good getting to the next level. I think he looks good getting to the next level. When he arrives at the next level, he looks like me trying to be athletic. Like it's bad. There's a lot of whiffing. I want to get your all's take on it because now we're to the point where, listen, there's a legit shot they could re-sign Josh Myers. They may love Josh Myers, right? Obviously, we put that tag of about $5 million on him, and the conversation here kind of steered in that direction too. I think Ryan Wood actually said $5 million. For $4 to $5 million, I'd have him back, right? So what's your all's take on this? Anything you want to add to this?
Man, y'all leave Josh alone, man. Leave him alone, man. Quit being so hard on him.
Yeah, I know one person that could play center.
Who's that?
He's got the number 79 on the jersey, but
he's got a J and an M as his initials also, right?
Yeah, his name's Travis Glover. Anyway, the pass blocking, right, we expect that out of him, honestly, a little bit higher. If he had a 70, 75, we wouldn't be worried about it just because nobody grades out well on the run blocking, right? He does get to the next level well, correct, but his when he engages, he gets turned. He loses his balance. He doesn't arrive there, super under control. For $4 million, I might bring him back just because we've already fought through all the snap that and ball, Josh, and figure out cover, figure out all the calls. Getting smooth with the line, all those things. Unless we're ready to move Tom in or Elton in or whoever it's going to be, and you bolster it around it, I'd rather have a 6'3" dude at the center of the wall. I'm going to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, I just think you can do better.
For sure.
I think it's an important position.
Though right now, Clayton. I mean, if we can get a deal, but then he's got to learn the offense, learn all the calls. You got to snap it to Jordan's hands between your legs 60 times a game. I mean, you got to get – we don't want to have – how many times are they going to freak out if we have a fumble, we bring in a new center, and there's one bad snap? We're never going to hear – we still don't hear the end of Elton when he snapped the ball 3 times in the rain. You know what I mean? So
right. Tim seen that firsthand, didn't you, Tim?
Yeah, for sure.
Tim's like, why did you even bring that up?
Yeah, unfortunately, I paid
I don't
to
want to
watch
remember
that.
it.
Andy Watkins in the chat said, "Is Monk worse than Josh Myers?" Listen, I think this is a good question. They were not going to allow anybody to compete with Josh Myers, and that's the part that really bothers me.
That's fair. That's totally fair.
You never heard in camp like, "Oh yeah, Josh Myers might not." It was even when it was mentioned, the media members. I remember Wildy and a couple other people just kind of laughing it off, like, there ain't a competition there. Like, this is Josh Myers' job. So to say,
why do you think that is, though?
I don't get it, man. I don't get it. It's just like with Savage. Like Savage, you guys heard me. I was screaming Rudy freaking Ford. Like Rudy Ford is a better post safety than Savage. I said it over and over and over. And guys, listen, I am an idiot. Like, I don't know near as much as these guys in that front office. The guy in Goody's front office that knows the least knows tenfold what I know. But when you look at the tape and you look at the analytics and you look at the way they tackle and you look at how they arrive at confrontation, it wasn't even close between Rudy Ford and Darnell Savage. And then lo and behold, we get Jonathan Owens. And what did we say, Tim, when we signed Jonathan Owens? We looked at the PFF grade and we're like, I guess he can
Lord.
tackle. I guess he could tackle. Goody's got a type. Guys, Darnell Savage was the next to last safety, highest graded safety in the entire league. The last ranked safety in the league the year before was Jonathan Owens, and we went and signed him.
Yep.
It was like, Goody's got a type. So to bring it back to Myers, I don't know, Amelia. I don't understand it, man. I don't.
Yeah.
It's just like we get locked in on these guys, and it's just that's the starter. That's the starter.
And I think it's something something you're used to, something you trust. He's gone through, a soon to be Hall of Famer, whenever that is, and he's now, with your starting quarterback that you put all your eggs into. So it's not you don't want to put him out there. You probably don't want to put him out there with a rookie and say, hey, I need you to learn a snap count. I need you to learn we couldn't even figure out silent count during the year. You know what I mean? Like, we had our tackles looking inside from 5 yards away trying to see, and then you got an edge rush coming off the wide 9 and them just getting roasted on the outside shoulder. Like, we still had problems on the line. If it was going to be a rookie that made those mistakes, whatever, but we need to figure out snapping. We need to figure out how to do a silent count. All those things need to get done this offseason, I think.
Yeah. Blake B said Rudy Ford fell off the face of the earth after we let him go. He did. I don't even think he made camp. Right on the next team. What does that tell you about Darnell Savage? Like, that Rudy Ford looked better than him every snap he got. And we hit Darnell Savage with a 5th-year option. And that's why I'm holding out Chris M for that double dozen of donuts. And I'm going to spread it around with the boys here. Because if you're willing to give Darnell Savage a 5th-year option, I have a hard time believing they're not going to tack that onto
one of them. All we need is one of them.
Right. So, because I do feel like Quay Walker and Devontae Wyatt are much better players than Darnell Savage.
Yeah, well, would you pay Devontae Wyatt, Quay Walker, or Josh Myers if you had to pick 2 out of the 3?
So you got to pick 2 of those 3? Is that what you just asked?
Right.
Quay and Devontae Wyatt.
Yeah, Quay and Devontae Wyatt's who I would pick.
Right.
It is. Yeah.
And I think that's where we're kind of at. But the problem is you trust what Josh has done with your previous 2 quarterback, your previous quarterback and your now quarterback, learning the offense, knowing the snap count, but we didn't have enough production out of it. So I do think that's something we need to look at, figure it out.
All right. Chris Hen says Goot can't admit his mistakes. All it is. Listen, I understand that stance. I do. I get it. And it does appear that way sometimes. But also, you've got to give these guys time too, right? And that's why I'm okay with giving guys time. But competition is only going to increase how they perform if they're the right guy. Let me put it this way. If we had drafted Creed Humphrey and Creed Humphrey had struggled, right? And we said, okay, you know what? We're going to have Sean Ryan compete with him at center and truly compete. Do you think Creed Humphrey would have been, oh, man, I'm having to compete and back off? Hell no. He's going to hit a different level. And I think Josh Myers is probably cut from a similar cloth. If he's got it in him, that's only going to raise him up. So I think the main mistake made there, it's not to pile on Josh Myers. It's just, what is so wrong with competition? I just don't get it. So I don't know. But yeah, there may be a little bit of that, Chris, but also you don't want to give up on the players too soon. I understand that, if I'm playing devil's advocate to your comment there too. But I'm with you, man. It does kind of feel like it's just one of those, no, not going to give up. I know what I got, right? Like when Emilio's trying to sell his used lawnmower on Facebook Marketplace, $1,300. I know what I got.
I know what I got.
We're gonna give him some.
What do you got over there tonight, Emilio? You got a tool highlight for it?
I guess it's right. The installation driver right next to the desk. You never know when you got to put a screw in the wall.
You keep that thing on you.
Yeah, it's always got a battery in it. You never know. Yeah.
Unbelievable. All right, let's move it along here. See, I think I had something else on Twitter. Nope, we're good on Twitter. So let's go to the Patreon group real quick. If you guys want to join our Patreon group, just go to patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. If you're a member of one of the 3 tiers, you will get access to our chat where you can be a part of the show, get your questions read on the air, all that good stuff.
Or the QR code in the corner or down in the description below. While you're down there, hit that sub.
Appreciate that, Amelia. Look at you salesman.
We're trying to get to 4K.
We're closing in on 4K. So if you're watching this and you think these guys don't seem so bad, I'll probably never watch the show again. Hit sub for us and we'll see you on the other side. You know what I mean?
Appreciate that.
So Hopefully you get what you're looking for in life. Josh Martin says, I know the Jets are looking to trade Tay. I don't think he will be after he gets released. I think if he does not sign with 4 days, he won't be signing with us. He wouldn't have to wait until the new league year. Is that a fair assessment, or would the 4 days be too soon? Trying to think of what he's saying here. What's he saying here, Emilio? He said, I don't know.
Okay, so do we have is there let's hold on. We got our dates here. Target date restructure. I was trying to think if the release date is if you have to be released before free agency starts. Do we figure out something before?
They'll probably hold him to as long as they possibly can to see if they get trade offers, I would imagine. Right? If that's the question you're asking there, Josh. I think that's how they'll approach that. I don't think they'll just cut him out right now and just say, hey, go sign with who you want. They may. It's the Jets. That would be a stupid thing to do, right? And that was kind of like the Browns. That's kind of their MO, right? But, yeah, for me, if I put myself in the Jets' shoes, I'm holding on to him until the very last second. Yeah. Think about like how we did with Zadarius Smith, right? We waited right up till free agency, then cut him with a June 1st, declaration on him or whatever. But it's different for them because there's not much cap penalty at all. If they cut Tay, they're freeing up a ton of salary, and they're just – I think it's like $28 million or something. I've heard 28, I've heard 30, I heard 32. It's somewhere probably between 27 and $30 million, something like that. So I would not trade for him. I know that. I would – if he hits free agency and you can get him on a good deal, a good team-friendly deal, that's how I bring him back to Green Bay. I'm not willing to give up draft capital and overpay him. You know what I'm saying? And You guys got anything to add to that?
Yeah, I co-sign that 100%. That's what I have to add.
If it's a 7th rounder, like we got Malik and Tay does the work and brings that wide receiver room together, all right, maybe. If the Jets hold some of that money over and it benefits us, I'll give them a 7th. But no, besides that, let me just pay the dude and get over here for a year or two and get out.
Here's Josh. Josh said if he doesn't sign with us within the 4 days of being released, would it be safe to say he wouldn't be signing with us? Got it.
Oh,
That's what I was trying to get. Okay, got it. Yeah, I don't know, man. He may sit on the market for a minute and see if a West Coast team offers him money, right, guys? You think?
Does he have to? He doesn't have to accept the offer right away, right? I mean, if he sits there for a couple days, he might. Yeah, you're right. He might field a couple options and say, the problem is how many West Coast teams are really good.
Right. I mean, you got the Rams, the Chargers, and who's the other one?
San Fran, right?
Yeah, San Fran. I mean, I would say they're all three good. I expect the 49ers to bounce back, especially with Saleh back out there. I hate to say that, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're a playoff team again next year. Yeah. Especially if McCaffrey is completely healthy. With the Chargers, I think they're a good football team. I imagine they're wanting to build that roster and that game plan around what Jim Harbaugh likes to do, which is run the rock like he did at Michigan. But you get Tay on the outside with some play action. That makes a lot of sense. If you approach it from San Francisco standpoint, they're shopping Debo, right?
Yep.
If they trade Debo for a pick and then bring in Tay's familiar with the terminology pretty much because he's been in a McVay/Shanahan system for a while now. As Jake says here, Chargers make perfect sense. I'm with you, Jake. I think he does. That makes a lot of sense. Now, with that being said, we get the third best odds of the team that signs him. Right?
I was going to say, but if he comes back to Green Bay, how many records can he break as a wide receiver? I mean, what does he need for catches for Green Bay? Those might be – maybe he wants to hit some milestones. Maybe he wants to hit some of those things. If he goes down as a Packer, number one, catches or whatever or touchdowns, hey, how long is that going to stand for? You know what I mean? Right. If you don't make it to the Hall, how long would you be in the Packers legend?
Yeah, it's a good question, man. Good conversation.
Yep.
Again, here's the thing. If Green Bay goes to Tay and says, we'll give you $10 million fully guaranteed, play a year, right? They say that. Okay, there's my offer. What if the Chargers come to him and say, we'll give you 2 years, $22 million with $13 million guaranteed? He's going to the Chargers, right? Yeah. And I don't blame him one bit. I'd be out there watching people surf. I'm too scared to surf. I just watch them surf. You know what I mean? Which, by the way, anybody who's been to San Diego, which they're in L.A. now, I guess different. But back in the San Diego days, my brother was stationed there in the Army for a little bit. He said, perfect weather. Most perfect place to live in the entire country. He was like, man, it's 77 degrees and a slight breeze off the ocean constantly. It's just beautiful. You ever been that far out west, Tim?
No, my dad goes out there quite often. Has a buddy that owns a cigar shop out in Old Town, San Diego there. So he likes to frequent that area. But I have not been out there. I've been to LA, but I've never been to San Diego, no.
Yeah. Need to check it out. Emilio ain't been there.
Nope.
Maybe when he first came over, I don't know. We'll see.
Farthest I've been is Texas.
Texas. I haven't been to Texas. I need to get to Texas. Anyway, there you go. There's your geographical conversation for the evening. All right. David James in the Patreon group. Bengals linebacker Jermaine Pratt. I'm sure you guys seen this. He requested a trade today, right? Don't know much about him. He's 28, maybe too much money. I went and done a little research here, boys. It is not good. For someone who's asking for a trade, here's his PFF grades, Emilio. I'm going to read his PFF grades throughout his whole career, and you tell me what you'd be willing to trade for him, all right? 51, 41, 47, 80, 63, 60.
Yeesh.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Hey, listen, man, we got a position open for custodian, if you want to come hang out in the facility,
Ja's 28 too. So
What's that?
I said Ja's 28 too. I don't know if I'm, I don't know, man. I would say no to that.
Yeah, it's just it was odd to see, and he's a captain, they said too. So
Really?
it was odd to see him like, I want to be traded. But Bengals like, you know what? We'll just cut your ass. How about that? Go sign where you want. I was expecting to see like something consistent. It's consistent. It's just consistently bad. With that being said, we'll just trade for him. That'll happen, right? So there you go with that question, David James. I am not a fan of that guy. Nebraska Rev. I have been doing a few mock drafts, and some of the I have picked at 23, and some I have traded back. But no matter what I do, I always find myself wishing for a pick right around 100. Anyone else felt the same thing, or is it just me being that greedy? We were trying to kind of trade up last night, wasn't we, Emilio? We kept trying to get back up or at least structure a trade where we could get another pick right around the 100 mark, wasn't we?
Yeah, I like a lot more picks. He's right. Kind of past 23, maybe from 30 to 150. If we could have 3 or 4, 4 in there, I would be super happy. The problem is trying to get to it. With still having the 6th, 7th, and I think that conditional 7th that we're going to get or something. So that's you got a lot of it on the back end that doesn't have a lot of value. So you got to kind of pull that together, get you up into the 4th or 5th round, and then take that and get you into the 3rd again. But I do think that it would be possible. That's why I'm kind of leaning to a less than double digit draft. I think it's going to be 7 or less. I really don't see him trying to, go out crazy. I know that we have some needs to fill, but I don't think that they're going to be pulling them all from the draft.
Mm-hmm. Prince in the chat said Emilio was spinning picks like mad last night.
I was consolidating last night. That's what I was doing.
That's all it was, right? Clean that up real nice. Let's see here. Jake in the chat says, based on the amount of picks Green Bay has had the last few years, we've gotten used to the finer things in life. It stinks just having 7. It's wild too, Jake, because like we talked about it earlier, there's a few teams got like 3 or 4 picks. Could you imagine? And they're always kind of bad teams, it seems like. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Goody tries to get around that 10 range as well. We've got the roster spots for it, in my opinion. But this may be the year that we actually just try to take minimal picks, and minimal by that I mean 7 or less, right? And see how good we can do on the top side. So there you go. That's your Patreon questions of the evening. Tim, you got anything you want to add to that, man, before we move on there?
No, just kind of reiterating Emilio's point. Having not too many, less than 10 draft picks might help us getting our roster in order. I mean, ultimately you can't keep everyone, and ultimately everyone's not going to work out. So I think Goody will cook still with 7 in the draft for sure.
Yeah, got it. All right, everybody in the Patreon group, we appreciate y'all and your support. We'll keep checking it and keep you guys included in the show. Anything else you gents want to hit on? I'm going to ask the question. All right, if people hate mock drafts, sign off right now. It's totally cool. We get it. We understand. Holmes, have long snappers been discussed?
I already said we gotta.
Didn't we do that last night?
If you have any information on them, I have about 7 or 8 of them in the board. If we can get a couple more numbers, if anybody has,
and not a one inside the top 300.
Can anybody, if we can get a captainship on, can we get a C on any of their chests? Give them a bonus or something to get them into the range.
Call up Zadarius. He's got captain's patches.
I think it's William from Michigan. That's our boy. He's the best. He's the highest graded one.
Jake knows where I was going with my next question. Do you boys want to do a mock draft? Because we need one where we're going to trade up. We're going to be.
Do I want to do a mock draft? You might as well split the episode and say thank you to episode 1, and we're off on episode 2.
You know what, Emilio? I'm not going to do that. Just because you said that. We're gonna be rebels tonight. All right.